right, here we go. Serious and silliness subscribers and YouTubers. We got really somebody really special. Elite Canadian arm wrestler Ian Carnegie. What's up, Ian? Yeah. What is it with that pose? Every arm wrestler does this pose.
We're forearm dominant. That's what it is.
Because every bodybuilder takes a picture, goes like this.
No
yeah,
bicep.
yeah, that's right.
See that? No bicep, but
nah, I guarantee you got 20 something inch arms.
What was it, babe? 21 and a half, 22?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't tell looking, but I know that you're over 300 pounds and over 6 foot tall. So you're a huge human being, right?
I'm hiding everything. I can tell you.
Yeah, because I've watched you arm wrestle on WAL on YouTube, and they, when it comes to the super heavyweights, they really pronounce how big the guys are. Well, they are monsters. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm actually not. I'm not 6'1". I'm shy of 6'1". I'm about 6 foot and a half.
Yeah, big deal.
But math class, they told me once it hits 0.5, you go up, right? Yeah. So I'm 6'1", yeah, and I'm about. I'm anywhere between 350 and 375.
Damn, that's a big boy. Jesus Christ. So, you are making some kind of a comeback. When was the last time you actually arm wrestled?
Okay, so I started practicing lightly in February. I went to Northern Ontario and I arm wrestled with the Ottawa Valley High Hookers, not to be confused with the Ottawa High Hookers, but they're basically the same club.
Wait, the club is called the High Hookers?
Yeah, because it's a move, a high hook, right?
Yeah,
yes.
couldn't you
play off of
yeah, you could have picked something else.
It's exactly, and most of their logos, like the Ottawa High Hookers, are some sort of play off of that. So it'd be like some prostitute with giant arms. You know what I mean?
That's fucking hilarious.
That's good. It's good. And they had this guy. He's only got just shy of 4 years in the sport, and I was off for my last match prior to this one that I just had was 2019, and I won the Toronto Pro Super Show, right? And I beat Rick Heidelbrecht and Justin Major, which were two top ranked heavyweights or super heavyweights in Ontario, but I didn't fucking do nothing for about a year and a half at least. And then I went to this practice and I got dummied by this new guy. I always say this, if I don't know who you are, you can't beat me at arm wrestling.
Right.
It's you can't. And it's just one of these things where arm wrestling is so specific, and yeah, it's technique, but it's developing muscles and tendon strengths in specific movements. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like a shot putter. He might not bench press as much as a bench presser, but he's as strong as a bench presser in his discipline. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's very specific. So unless you've got some kind of abnormality, you got double bone, double muscle, and that's actually exists in our sport, you're not beating me, right? And I couldn't fucking do nothing with this guy. I'm okay, I took a break from the sport, but I left the sport at a decent high. I wouldn't say top 10 in North America, but that's surely top 5 in Canada. I before that last match, I hadn't really competed that much leading up to it because I was under contract. Well, I'm still under contract with the WAL, and they shut down for the last couple of years. And so it's really difficult for me to get the okay as to where I can and can't compete, right? There's all kinds of contractual issues, right? So, yeah. So I was allowed to compete at the Toronto Pro, and I did. And so I had, like I said, a year of not competing before that. Then, COVID-19 happens. All of a sudden, the border shut down, on all the leagues in Ontario shut down. I'm just sitting here getting fat. I'm depressed. I got life issues. I got all these things, and I'm just never mind. And then I meet my girlfriend, and things start turning around for me. And she's setting me on the straight and narrow. And she's you were pretty good at arm wrestling. Why don't you get back into it, right? I said, okay. So like I said, I went out up north, and this new guy is just spanking me all over the place. And I'm like, okay, that can't fucking happen. You know, that cannot happen. So I start training again. I'm still like lacking motivation. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my goodness, like how I know what it takes to get to a certain level. And it's like, I'm fighting with the drive, you know what I mean? Because it's like to get to a certain level, like that elite strength, you got to put in hours and all kinds of table time, gym work, band work, rotation, all kinds of handle. Like I have specialized tables with pulley systems. Like right here, I'll flip the camera over. My living room's getting painted under construction, but do you see that table over there?
Yeah.
With the pulley. So there's weights, obviously, and I just do wrist curls, right?
Okay.
Anyway, so the guy contacts me, the one that I was saying. He's like, look, there's this event on the 31st and nobody wants to pull me. And I'm like, yeah, because you're fucking strong and barely anybody knows who you are. And you're a total, like an unknown that can make a really bad day for somebody. He's like, oh, he's like, will you pull me? Because no one else will. I'm like, fuck yeah, whatever. You know? Sure. And I thought to myself, okay, I got about 2.5, 3 months. I'm like, I could probably do this, you know, put in some dedicated work. And I was for about 2.5, 3 months. I put in some serious table time, pulley work. I came in really strong. And guess what? It wasn't enough.
Really?
On the 31st of July, this guy came in twice the size he was like than he was in February. He came in huge, looking like, huh?
Huge.
He's only about 5'8", 5'9", but he's 260. And
damn,
he's got a block chest. His shoulders, like he looked like a Greek god. And he, not only did I lose, but he beat me with my move.
Oh wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and it's so funny.
Are you willing to say his name?
Curtis Cameron. Absolutely. Okay. I'm a bandwagon guy for him right now because like he lost a couple of months earlier to a guy who in the past we've gone back and forth, but I'd say in recent history I've been dominant against this taller guy. He's like 6'9" almost, and Curtis is 5'9", so it's like,
wow,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a huge difference. And even with all that muscle, Curtis was unable to beat this guy named Rick Heidelberg. And so when I saw that, I was thinking, well, I beat Rick generally, or I'm close with Rick. So, you know, but in this sport, it's really difficult to, like A can beat B, B can beat C, C beats A, you know what I mean? So gotcha, it's sort of that way. And, but to be honest with you, I don't think anybody was beating Curtis Cameron that day. Maybe Rick, maybe Devin Larratt, maybe Ryan Espy. I'm talking Canadians right now. Not a whole lot. I surely wasn't. And a lot of people were saying, and you know, I was coming in the strongest as I ever been. Now, was I a very good version in terms of strength I've ever been? Yeah. Was I fit around the midsection? And no, like I was big, but it was a big major match for Canada. So I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm a fatso coming into it, because it doesn't really matter for me. Like I can be fat and strong, and I can be fit and strong. It's just, you know, when you're fat and strong, you can't get as tight. You know what I mean? You can't bring things to center, which you need to. And so I'm not making excuses. I showed up. I thought I was going to win. I was super strong. I figured if I'm at this strength level, something will work out in my favor. You know, that's the arrogance of me having all this experience. This guy took my soul from me. Like there's a bunch of different moves that you can do in the setup. Like you can set up for outside movements or inside movements. And it's a rainbow of different things that you can do within those inside and outside movements. Okay. Depending on your wrist, like it could be a low hand, it could be a high hand, it can be cupping, it can be like a myriad of two, it can be a bunch of things, right? This guy took my belief that I could do any of that outside stuff like right away, because he came in at me and he had such a strong hand and wrist. So anyway, so to sum it up, this new guy's on the scene, Curtis Cameron. Look him up. He's going to be busting ass for a while. I took the match, but I said, listen, I only got, even cellar dwelling in your basement, getting real strong because you didn't have to go to work for 2 years with this COVID thing, acting like Rocky Balboa. I've been sitting there drinking martinis and doing other stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you beat me, we're doing a rematch. So I wanted it in 6 months, but I think I got a year. I need a year to get to this guy's level. So
Wow.
we're going to have the rematch at the same event in a year's time.
Okay. Well, that was my question. Is, are you going to rematch him? Because listen, I've never been an elite level anything, but the one thing that I do know that makes a champion is not never losing, but it's how you come back from a loss.
Yeah. The day that I lost was real sour grapes, because I know what people are thinking when they see the match. They're going to see, oh, okay, you know, I said I was training, I said I was strong, but my body, because they gave, first of all, when you're a bigger guy, if you're not wearing something that fits you, you can look like, you know, 100,000 pounds of chewed bubble gum.
Right.
And they gave me this. They said it's a 4XL. No 4XL I ever fucking wore. It was super. It just made me look like a stuffed sausage, you know. And I was right away. It fucked with my mind. I'm like, I look like horrible, you know. And so there was that, and I'm trying to wipe that from my mind. It's like it's looks. Who gives a fuck? It's what you're capable of, right? But so I know that people probably looked at that and said he's totally out of shape, came in unprepared. You know, I was one-dimensional because it looked like I was one-dimensional, but the truth was, in the setup, I'm trying to figure out what I can do, and the guy took my options away, like for slipping or going into straps or whatever. And my so what to that is, okay, so what? You know what? This is my, basically, other than that one match I had or that one tournament in 2019, this is like my first real competition in almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like this. This is my base. I still was strong. Like I still was able to stop him at times. And knowing how strong he is, stopping him was like, okay, that's a good base. Okay. And I'm going to be going up and practicing with him. I'm going to find the holes, like, you know, and I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. That's the way I see it. I'll figure it out. I'll get strong. I'll get fit. I got a year to do it. And yeah, like I can't just, I'm not going out on my shield, as it says, not yet. I'm only 41. I still got a few years. Arm wrestlers can be well into their 60s. And
I was going to say, I went to an arm wrestling tournament. There were guys in their 60s doing.
Yeah, it's a different, ever shake the hand of like a mechanic or a farmer or a like construction worker who's in his 60s, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know,
if that's been around the block, right?
That's the type of, like, arm wrestlers. I don't know if you can see my fat pad, but that, do you see how my thumb is?
Yeah.
You see how fat my fingers are?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, that is the same. Like, that's not just unique to arm wrestlers. That's anybody that works with their hands.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and like, people say, if you got in a fight, you should just hit him with that. Like,
yeah.
You know? But anyway.
But you know, like I said, I've never been an elite athlete in anything. I've always been mediocre. All the trophies behind me were all local stuff. Anytime I went past there, I wasn't good enough for whatever reason. But one thing that I've always was a student. I've always admired power, strength, sports, athletics, so on and so forth. And your story is not uncommon in an elite athlete's life. Your story is very common and has been told and shown from the beginning till now. So a very similar story to you is, do you watch boxing at all?
Yeah, I'm a big boxing fan.
Okay, Lomachenko, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You know, he made fighters quit on the stool. I think he made 2 or 3 fighters, not that they weren't hurt, not that they were hurt, and not that they were you know, taking too many shots in there and their corner kept them, but there was nothing they could do to beat him. They, like you said, he took their hope away because
Yeah.
everything they tried, they couldn't pull off. And it got to the point where they just literally themselves mentally threw in the towel. And then comes along, and then comes along this, and then comes along this young kid, Lopez.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, he's a good kid coming up, but he's never going to beat him." And he fucking beats him. You know.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's always a kryptonite. To every Superman, there's a kryptonite, you know.
Yeah. So your story is not. I mean, you could go on and on. You could talk about the Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. You could talk about you can keep on. You can talk about the Mike Piazza, Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens could strike anybody out. Mike Piazza, for some reason, just had his fucking number. I think Mike Piazza was Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers ever, but Mike Piazza was able to hit almost 500 against him for some fucking reason, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. If I was going to compare myself as an athlete to a boxer, I would say I like to think of myself as like, or trying to aspire to be like a Lennox Lewis. Like, he's not perfect. He gets beat, but he doesn't like go away and quit. He comes back and he beats that guy.
He adapts.
That's how
he adjusts and adapts, which is what defines a champion. Yeah. That's what defines a champion's not somebody who doesn't lose. A champion is somebody who loses and comes back better. That defines a champion.
And if we're gonna take it one more step, look at Devin Larratt, where he lost to Michael Todd in the WAL final, right? And a burn, like, it looked very close. A lot of people argued it could have on elbow fouls went his way, but with his, like, the words, I believe what comes out of his mouth, like, he said it wasn't close. Mike carried the match. I believe him, right? So he put that in his head. He's like, okay, if I face this guy again, I have to be way stronger, way dumb. You know what I mean? I have to. And then their rematch was a clean sweep by Devin.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because I was going to ask you about that. Like you said, the first two, even though we said he wasn't close, he said Michael Todd carried the match, but to the general audience, it looked very close.
Yeah.
And then, because I had asked this to a couple of other arm wrestlers, and then they arm wrestled in Dubai, and it was so one-sided that I honestly thought Michael Todd was injured. I was like, he's got to be hurt. Something's got to be wrong. I mean, it's not the same guy. So So now explain, since you're good friends with Devin, explain how he explained it.
Okay. Well, let's take it further back. Let's look at their whole history. Their initial match in England was, I believe, a 4-2 victory, but all matches were highly contested except for maybe one. So it was definitely like these two are close, right? The second match seemed to be like the first, only Michael's way. Devin's like, no, it really wasn't that close. And
how does he explain that it wasn't that close?
Well, if you watch the first match, Devin, it was a war. Devin's on the losing side for most of the match until he transitions to shoulder press. And he exerts so much energy doing so to pin Michael. And if you look and you ask yourself, who would you rather be at the end of that match? It was totally Michael. He'd want to be Michael. Michael was like, oh, he was looking, it was like a, you know what I mean? Like a cat with blood in his teeth. He was like, this guy, even if he wins another one, he's going to be completely gassed. He's not going to make it. Michael knew early that he wasn't going to see the end of this match, you know, definitely not as the winner. Now, Devin is someone that you don't play around with. Like, generally he's known for his super endurance, but it was the first time that I guess Devin had been plus 260 in a match, if I'm not mistaken, and may have not. He was always known for his great endurance, but if you're 250 or less and you're super fit, you're never worried about lactic acid. You're never worried about your lungs. You can go. you start adding 10 pounds, things change, you know. And then for this match, he was like, okay, I can't do things halfway. I can't be 260, lose my endurance, and just be like a little bit stronger and then fade. I have to be way stronger.
I got you.
So he came in, what, 8-9 pounds shy of 300, which is massive for Devin, because he's like his natural form is like a basketball player. He stands 6'5", 6'6". You know, so 300 pounds on him, the amount of calories, like this guy was showing every day how much he was eating. And it was like, he said he went to bed every night with his belly extended. Like I like to eat too, but I don't like that feeling at all.
Yeah, right.
So he came in and he basically shut every angle that Michael needed. He understood what Michael needs to do to win, and he focused on that. And he took it off. And ironically, that's what Curtis Cameron did to me. And guess who Curtis Cameron's main training partner is?
Oh, don't say it.
Yeah, it's Devin Lair.
Oh, that sucks.
and basically, he came in because everyone knew, like everyone knew that I wasn't going into the stronger guy. People were saying, you know, Ian's the strong. I was very strong, but not as strong as Curtis. Even in my head, I was like, I have to win on speed. I have to get high, crack this guy, just see if I can jar him from his arm, get it separated, right? And what he thought was he knows he's not as fast as me. He's like, I can't hit with Ian, but I can hit for position. If I just keep Ian from being behind his shoulder and make it about our arms, I'm going to win. Curtis is going to win, you know? And that's what he did. And his hand and wrist was so strong that I felt like if I tried to bail, he was going to catch my hand, and then I was going to be in an open position, and it was going to be even worse.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just was like, I just kept thinking to myself, just get tighter, get more behind your arm. It just never came from me. But I think the next time I pull him, I'll have like a really good training camp. I'll be able to work on my weaknesses. I'm going to come up with different moves, different counters, and just make sure that I'm not in that one move, like trick pony kind of scenario ever again. I have to be more well-rounded at the elite level if I'm going to beat a guy as strong as him.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have your head on straight and you're ready to do it. So generally speaking, mentally is mental power is what you need, but mental power is what you need first and foremost to get yourself in the position to challenge somebody like that again. So it sounds like you're ready to get in there and you know, really put yourself into it and beat this guy or become an elite arm wrestler again.
Well, that's it. I mean, just like I said earlier, everyone has there's always like a kryptonite to every Superman, right? And just because if I say I never end up beating him, it sounds like a loser attitude, but it might just be that he has my number. But if I can get like competitive with him, I might blow the doors off other people, even people that might beat him. Like if I get nearly as strong as Curtis, I will be so dominant in other areas of the table that, you know, that I can't exploit on Curtis, but others, you know what I'm saying? Because strengths in arm wrestling are so different. Like people are weird, strong, and really odd areas. Like some people are not strong at the center of the table, and they basically let their arm go 3/4 of the way down, and then you just hit a wall, and then boom, you bounce off of it, and then you're like, you start sweating because you're like, oh my god, what the hell did I hit? You know, and they're comfortable in the losing position. Do you know what I mean? It's people are strong and it's where they're training or whatever they devise in their head to be like the game plan. And some people are very adaptive. Like you take a guy like John Brzenk, and you might crack him and you might win him. You might win a match against him. Say it's over 6 rounds or best 3 out of 5 or whatever it is. If you think that the next time you grip him, you're just going to be able to do that same move, you're sadly mistaken, because he's now shut off that lane of winning for you.
I got you. He was my next question, actually. Yeah.
It's done. It doesn't exist after that. And unless you have more than one move, well, it's going to be a real sad day for you. Like,
Yeah,
once you got
right.
that win, it's like, oh,
So
once you lose,
is that why the majority of people refer to him as the GOAT?
yeah, I would imagine. Him, he has to be considered the GOAT because he's been doing this since he was 20 years old as a world champion, and he's beaten everybody, essentially everybody. I mean, everybody that he could. I mean, he hasn't got revenge on Vovoda yet, but Vovoda, I mean, what do you do when a guy retires on you,
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and I'm not, and that's, do I think John has the parts to beat Vovoda? Absolutely. When he lost to Vovoda, he was only 209 pounds, and Vovoda was 275. Let's say Vovoda comes in 290 and John Brzenk comes in 265. I think John throws Vovoda off the table. Do you get what I mean? That's my personal opinion. And he's been doing it for so long. He's got wins on Devin Larratt. Devin Larratt's got wins on him. Who do I think knows more about arm wrestling? That's a toss-up. I think if you had to sit down and discuss everything about arm wrestling, like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? If someone does this, what is the counter? I think that's Devin. I think John is such a natural that he might not be able. I don't want to insult him here, but I think you get what I mean? It's like if you watch kids that have played sports like hockey or basketball since they're very, very young, they just do things differently.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, they might not be able to tell you how they did it. It's just, it comes naturally to them.
Yeah,
Whereas Devin systematically, let's say, why does this work? I'm going to figure out why this works. Gave all kinds of names to new moves that he invented because he figured this makes sense, So I think there's a GOAT and there's a boat. So there's the greatest of all time, and then there's the best of all time. And you can imagine, I think Devin's the best of all time, especially when he beat Michael the way he did. That cemented it for me. Michael came in saying he's the biggest, strongest version of himself, and that it wasn't going to be close between him and Devin. And Devin made it the other way around.
Yeah. So he basically just put a massive kink in his armor and just took it apart. Yeah. All right. So we talked about Devin. We talked about John Brzenk. Have you arm wrestled either one of them?
Yeah. Only like practice table, and this is a big taboo subject when you talk about arm wrestling. You never talk about who you beat at on the side table or practice table. But I got news for you. I didn't even beat him there. Okay. So, and in practice with Devin, because I've done it so often, I have 500,000 wins, let's say, on a practice table with Devin, but I have 0 wins in competition. I had a super match with him where I lost 3-0. One of the matches was a little competitive. He tried to pin me. I stopped him. I brought it back to center a bit. He outweighed me and, won. So,
all right.
Yeah. We're talking about the 2 very best. You get
best
what
in
I
the world.
mean?
Yeah. There's no shame. I was interviewing Lisa Wolfley, and she said she lost to Michelle Dugan. And I said, there's no shame in losing to Michelle Dugan. That's like losing to Mike Tyson in a fight. You're fighting Mike Tyson, right?
Do you see how she trains?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Do you see how Dugan trains?
Yeah, she puts it on Instagram, and it's unreal.
She's a freak.
Yeah.
She is a freak. Dude, there's a lot of dudes out there like, I can't do what she does.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it, no.
She is a natural athlete, plus the passion and desire and drive makes her the best. Could
you imagine if she was a dude? I know it sounds horrible, but if she was like, you take her brain, put her in a dude's body, what she could do with that.
Yeah, if somebody with her talent level comparable to a man with that drive and that passion and her natural genetics, you're putting together the perfect creature. 100%. You really are. But what I'm saying is, there's no shame in losing to Devin Larratt or John Brzenk. These are, again, it's like losing to Floyd Mayweather. Big deal. You're losing to one of the greatest ever. Take the pride. It's just a learning process. I mean, it's just another. And
I mean, you get every day. Like, I mean, you win some, you lose some. I've had some good days too. I mean, I beat Travis Bage, I've beaten Mike Gould, I've beaten some studs like Tom Nelson,
Yeah.
Michael Todd, left-handed. It's left-handed, but still Michael Todd.
Yeah, well, that's why I reached out to you. I knew you were one of the
I've
best.
beaten RVJ. I beat a lot of guys. Like, but at the end of the day, you know, when you're looking at your career and stuff, did you cheat the system, or did you cheat yourself? Really, that's what I'm saying. Like, did you put 100% in, or did you fall short? And unfortunately, at this point in my life, I think I put in my early career 110%.
Right.
But in the second half of my career, 20 to 50.
Yeah, but that's gonna change. You could tell you're different now. You could tell you're mentally focused. You could tell you're driven. So that's gonna change.
It has a lot to do with my beautiful girlfriend who came in my life around February, and like my life was really hectic before her, like crazy off the rails. And she's just come in, and she's such a calming influence on me.
Yeah.
And it's really her who kind of, and gave the inception of the seed of, and she's like, if you lose your first match back, who cares? It's just, it's a stepping stone. You know where you're at, you move on for it. I'm listening to her. I'm like, well, she ran track at a high level.
Yeah.
2 U.S. university scholarship offers, but she's a brainiac too, so she went that route. She's an academic.
Yeah.
And but she's really like a woman like that can really help a dude. Like if you get what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree more. And this is one of the other topics aside from sports, or rather power sports, that I get into, is how men and women relate to each other. It's, you refer to it as the manosphere and so on and so forth, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that expression, behind every great man is a great woman, is the truth. It's 100% the truth, especially in athletes, because athletes have to be so focused mentally. They usually need a woman that is going to do exactly what she does for you.
Well, if you have a good woman, she's not going to tell you what you need to hear. She's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, And I think with her is, it's not just sunshine and roses with her. It's not like, oh yeah, it's, you'll get him next time, honey. It's not that. It's like, well, what did you do? Did you clean your diet? Did you, or
Right.
didn't you, or did you put those hours in that you said you were going to, or were you on the couch watching TV?
Right.
Like she tells you, and then she's like, you have it in you. Everyone that you ever talk to, they always talk about how much potential and talent you have, but you have to work for that,
Mm-hmm.
for the results. And like it's you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, am I doing these things she's saying? And if not, then you got to fucking go do it.
Right.
Or stop talking about it,
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And like I said, man, my that, if you ever see a guy who's single, he's a lost soul. I mean, after the age of like 35, 40, it's like they usually get in trouble. They drink too much, so on and so forth. It's just
because how guys' minds think too, right? We're like, oh, everything can be like we're super awesome and no one can beat us, and then the slightest thing hits us and then we start chasing, and whereas a girl's can ground us. She's like, yes. Okay, you're really not as awesome as you think, and you're really not as bad as you think. You're kind of like right here.
Yeah.
And the idea is we got to
I truly believe that is a woman's role. I truly believe a woman's role in a relationship and family is to keep everybody grounded and together and help push forward. I truly believe that. This is going to sound ridiculous, and people are going to make fun of me because I almost say it every time I talk. I come from an Italian background, and my background is traditional. The guys work hard, they provide. The majority of the women don't work, but like my wife works, so on and so forth. But the majority of them don't. They stay home. But the holidays, the family, the
house,
the way the house looks,
the
the way the house with the atmosphere, And that is all the women. I'll call, my brother's a contract. I'll call him up and I'll be like, yeah, what are we doing for Christmas? I'm like, we going to your house? He'll be like, I don't know. Call my wife. I don't, I don't take care of these things. And his wife has got it down like this. I call her the queen because she's the one that makes all the, everything work. And I truly believe that is a woman's natural instinct to do well, because men wouldn't, if it was up to us, we'd be doing this.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. Just exactly. Let me tell you this. She will officially be fully moved here in by the end of the month. Okay, so she's done this over a period of 2 months, just slowly moving in, and like my house looks like it's upside down right now because she's got 16 different paint colors on the wall, and so the whole house is being redone, like in her image, you know what I mean? Like the way
it's my house too.
She's like, do you mind if I do? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I have pink walls. These are pink walls from the 75-year-old lady I bought the house from. And I didn't do shit to them, right? And then and she's a girl. I thought she'd like the pink walls. She's like, why you got pink walls?
Yeah.
I'm like, I fucking don't know. They were here. They were pink when I bought it, and so there you go.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's got to go. And she says she got 16 different colors of blue or whatever, blue gray or whatever. It all looks the same to me, but they're
I'm the same way, man. The same way.
Hey, they're all the same, like to me. But
I love when they want your opinion. You're like, I don't fucking know you.
She's hearing this. She's laughing.
It's so true.
I know. And what did I say, babe? When you ask for my opinion about what did I say?
So they all look the same to you.
They all look the same.
Yeah, the same way.
Or my favorite line, I don't give a fuck. Like
the same way. The whole, this room here is the only room that looks like this. I mean, you can't see, but I got, all my trophies. I have, I got a fish tank over here with, right. That's so on. So I got some autographed pictures of fighters and all this crap. The rest of the house looks like Pier 1 Imports. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. That's the way it is. If I'm out with my wife, and we're going to doing errands on a Sunday, we're just hanging out, we're going to lunch, whatever, because Sundays we're both off. I always wind up at what is that place? I always inevitably, and without even thinking that I'm going to end up there, I end up there. What is it? The home goods. Yeah, home goods.
Okay.
And it's just we got to buy some stupid shit to decorate the house all the time.
I think for us, it's Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah, right. Same difference, right.
Home Sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if there may be the same thing in the States. Like, I don't know. They just got the names are slightly different, but it's the same idea, right?
Same shit. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Same shit. Jisk. Whatever, anything like that, and I hate it because there's this one area in my town and they all kind of, it's like those strip malls that face inward. I don't know if you know, they're like it's like a U horseshoe kind of thing, and you just drive in and everything, you don't walk into the mall, you walk directly into the store.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We have that where I'm in Jersey, next to New York, not close to New York City, and I grew up in New York City, but if you go upstate, they had the same kind of layouts with the malls and so on and so forth,
Yeah. So, and then it's like, if I drive by, she's like, hey, you want to pull in here? I'm thinking, fuck no. But
you just wind up doing it.
I just it's like, because they get me because Montana's and Kelsey's and Boston Pizza and all, it's all in there too. If I want to go there, it's like, but before we leave, no.
Yeah. I know. The only store I absolutely say no, 100% no to is IKEA, because for some reason they put you in there and it's literally like you're trapped. What was that movie when Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the game show where he just couldn't get out? Running Man.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah, that was a crazy movie. What Richard Dawson was the host. He was the host of Family Feud.
And he said, I'll be back too in the movie.
Did he really? I didn't know
I remember when he's like, Dylan, I'll be back. And then he fucking
then he shot down. Brother. That's how I feel like when I'm in IKEA. I feel like I'm in a fucking puzzle that I can't get out of. Do you guys have them up there?
Yeah, in Ottawa. Ottawa's only about an hour and 40 minutes from here, and they have a massive one.
Oh.
And it looks intimidating to go, and it's like, no, you know what I mean?
Dude, they give you a map. They give you a map. Any store, they give you a map. There's no way I'm going in. I'm sorry. I fucking hate it.
Well, I don't know if our IKEA is that big.
Yeah.
Is it that big?
Because they tell you
it is big.
They tell you where you got to go, and there's arrows and signs on where to go. And what I'm like, no, this is. I feel like
Is that how it is, man?
Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's fucking crazy.
No way out.
Oh,
One way in, one way out.
Get out, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nuts.
Well, thanks for the warning.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get back. I got a couple of questions, and then a couple more questions,
Sure.
and I'll let you go.
Right.
So we talked about the greatest of all time, the best of all time. Anytime I've asked somebody who they think they're good, they always say John Brzenk. They always say Devin Larratt. They always say Travis. Why doesn't I had to write his name down? It was difficult. Dennis Saplinkov. Why doesn't he ever get any love?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of East-West hate out there. I think if you're talking to people in the West, they're going to say those names initially. If you're talking about people in the East, they're going to say Saplinkov and Lavon and Pushkar and Vitaly Leletin. Okay. And Saplinkov, I think, gets a little bit of hate from us because, I mean, not to be hypocritical, Americans, Canadians, there's a lot of drugs in arm wrestling, just like all pro powerlifting or whatever sports. But Saplinkov and Lavon kind of look like there's one thing to take, and then there's another thing to like just be a fucking science project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They look like
it's very
they look like
easy
they were
to get
made
it
in
out
a
there.
tube. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying. Okay.
When like I'm a big guy, and if his index finger is that thick, and that his nail is like double that, like, you know what I mean? And and you've seen huge bodybuilders, but I've seen Saplinkov beside like when he was at his most massive, and the muscles were different. Like the bodybuilders were maybe more ripped and like as equally circumference, but I'm not sure. But like, look at the Hulk, right? The Hulk is this hulking guy, but he's not really a bodybuilder. Do you get what I mean? Like, he's just a Hulk, right? And versus Arnold, right? Like that's what
I got. Yeah, okay.
You get what I mean? Yeah. Like he looks like Lavon and Dennis look like Hulks, like not human. You know, do you get what I mean? Big
I know
heads,
exactly what you mean.
You know, so that I think they just look at it like, okay, well, if you have to change your genetics to become the best, then are you the best? Look,
okay.
I don't know. I'm maybe one of the few people out there. Like, I kind of wish every sport was just let them do it. Like, just let's see a guy break 100-meter record in like 8 seconds. Like, I want to see a guy that looks like he's not touching the ground. Like, I want to see a baseball get hit out of the fucking park. I want to see a quarterback hit a guy in the numbers so hard that at the 5-yard line, when he catches the ball, it becomes a touchdown because he just launches dude into the end zone. You know what I mean? I want to see that. So I never, like, when I look at Saplinkov, I'm like that kid that grew up with the superhuman, like He-Man dolls and all that stuff.
Same way.
And so I loved big, strong, like, you know, like that was my epitome of what, you know what I mean? Like
masculinity is,
you know, in my early 20s, and, you know, when I found out like Stallone was on steroids and Hogan was on steroids,
of course,
Arnold, it shattered my like belief system and like my life, because it was like they cheated and these are my heroes, and then, you know,
then you find out everybody does it. Then you find out your whole gym is on it.
And or like when Ben Johnson was stripped of his title and the world record and stuff, and then they retested the did you hear about this? So he, you know, the gold medal was stripped from him,
I remember,
given to Carl Lewis and gone down. Somebody had the presence of mind to keep all the samples of everyone that was in the finals. And they were like, we're going to retest this when we have the proper technology. They did. And everyone was dirty.
Yeah, of
course. Everyone.
Yeah. They were all on an even playing field. Yeah.
And guess what? No one gave an apology. No one said, okay, we either strip them all or reinstate, give him, you know, no, that politics and everything else is what happened there,
Mhm.
and you can't vilify, when they say, what does it take to win, right? Or to be a champion, and people say, I'll do anything. Well, that stuff is part of the anything.
That's right. That's right. That's
You know
true.
what I mean? And
100%.
is it why do people not talk about it or whatever? You know what? You don't want your kids growing up believing that they have to take this stuff
That's
in
right.
order to be. But guess what? No one's asking them to. No one's asking kids to take steroids.
Mhm.
No one's asking you do what you can, and then you come to become an adult and have to make an adult decision. Do I want to make $22 million a year in the NFL, or do I
Mhm.
want to make $100,000 in the CFL? Like it's a big difference, and a $22 million salary a year means I have to put this stuff as an adult
Mhm.
into my body, or
You're gonna
I
do
can,
it.
join the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like
Yeah.
when you're talking about setting not just your life, your children's life, your children's children's life, your
Right.
children's children's
Right.
children's
Right.
life.
Right. Right.
It's not you know
Right.
what I mean?
But it's not, I'm 45. I'm on testosterone therapy. I'd be the first one to admit it. I've admitted it on my other podcasts. And I mean,
But why did you feel the need to do that? Why did you feel the need to tell people your personal business? I mean, here's the thing: like
people respect
you're
transparency.
You're 45 years old,
Mm.
and between you and your doctor, you made a fucking business decision.
Yeah.
And guess what? When I was in the military, they call it, what do they call it? I don't know. I had some trauma. I had, and it's kind of, for a while there, it shut down my my testosterone. And they gave me, initially, it was like a rub I put on my belly.
Yeah.
And then it was, and then they were like these gel pills.
I know exactly.
And everything monitored by, but I could care less. I mean, then it became injectable, because it just wasn't absorbing correctly or whatever.
My doctor is completely against the rub. He says, he told me, if we're going to do this, you have to do the injection. I said, all right.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He's like, there's a lot of problems with the rub, and my father was on the rub for a while. And but you want to know personally why I did it initially? Because when my test shut down, so did my ability to perform, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And that was killing my my morale. That was killing my relationships. It was making me frustrated.
Absolutely.
And then when that changed, and I don't need to be on therapy anymore. Like, I don't know, like my body balanced or whatever.
That's not, it happens. Yeah.
But for like after my accident, like for about 2 years, I was reliant, and I was worried that I'd have to be on it for forever. But you don't need to have to tell people that shit. That's your personal business, and people are going to speculate anyway. It doesn't matter, and I don't give a fuck. Like, if I jump over a building and I did it naturally, I mean, guess what? No one's going to believe it anyway.
It's true.
You know what I mean? No matter if you do something supernatural, the first thing someone's going to say is, he's on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No question about Devin Lorette was natural forever.
Right.
Beat Brezink natural. No one believed it. No one believed it.
Yeah.
No, they don't. But they don't know what he was doing. Like, people don't understand. This guy was JTF2, which is like Canada's Delta Force. Okay, this guy was training. Like, I always joke. I say, Devin's got more confirmed kills than COVID. Like this guy had to be tip-top shape, but he was winning Ironman competitions. He was winning push-up competitions. He was just an all-round super freak athlete. Okay, so when your job is to be as top of the line performance athlete, or you die, that's quite the fucking incentive.
So to put it in perspective, that is the equivalent of the Americans' Navy SEALs. Is that accurate?
It's counterterrorism. So it depends on what. I don't know what the full, like, what the Navy SEALs full range of like specialties are.
I don't know either, but I know they're all elite. Yeah.
I think Delta is more the accurate lateral move, but I'm not sure. I mean, they are black ops, or at counterterrorism. They're in the cloak of night, helicopters in, precision, stack left, stack right, go in, breach the door. I'm ex-military as well. And so I regular infantry, but whenever we were gearing up to do an operation overseas or whatever, we go to like what they call a FIBUA site, which is a fighting in built up area. So it's like a town that's just made for drills. And those guys would come and they would kind of, iron us out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This needs to be tightened up. And, and we just listen to them because they did it every day. Do you get what I mean?
Right. Yeah, sure.
Like when we're doing this and you look over and you see these helicopters coming in and they're like dropping ropes and busting in windows and doing their thing. It's like, you're kind of envious because they get to do the high speed, low drag shit.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I didn't know that. That's amazing. Just like,
you didn't know that about Devin?
No, I did not know that. Yeah.
Dude, this guy needs a movie made after him. His life stories, and he is the most humble person. Like most of the Devin, and I've known him since 2004, 2005, and he'll tell me, like, if I ask, I don't pry too much, but most of the Devin stories that I hear come from other people, witnesses.
I see. Okay.
He is like a fucking Canadian Chuck Norris.
Yeah. All right. Only the real Chuck Norris, not an actor. Yeah.
It's like Devin got bit by a rattlesnake, and like 2 weeks later, after excruciating pain, the rattlesnake died.
Yeah. Some crazy shit like that. That's insane. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have one more question, and then I'm gonna let you go.
All
and
right.
it's pretty simple. Where did the nickname the Grippler come from?
Okay. Well, the common story is that Devin gave it to me, but the truth is I came up with it. I said let Devin come up because it's like, who gives themselves their own nickname? But here's why.
Right.
I come from a pro wrestling family. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. My
mother's cool.
My mother's the greatest female wrestler of all time. I don't care. Her name's Vivian Vachon. My uncles are Mad Dog Vachon, the Butcher Vachon. They're all like early, like AWA, then early transition to WWF.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Holy shit.
And so
I'm a huge wrestling fan, especially back then.
My cousin Luna just got, and she was the last of the family to get inducted to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Your cousin was Luna, really?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. We have to do another podcast just on that then.
All right. But the point is they all had nicknames and they were heels, right? The bad guys.
Yeah.
And like my uncle's the Butcher, the other one's the Mad Dog. Luna, what the hell was Luna? I guess Luna Vachon was Luna. Luna was Luna. But Luna's not. Her name is not. I think it's Trudy or Gertrude. I forget. But we just called her Luna for so long that it just became Luna, right? But she's my Uncle Paul's daughter. Anyway, so I was like, my favorite bad guy in the Batman series was the Riddler.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still waiting for that movie to come out. They pushed it back to next year.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But I thought Jim Carrey was awesome in it.
Yeah, well, that was our generation.
Great psycho, you know what I mean? But so I like that. And then, are you going out there to get food? All right, get me something. And then I just like arm wrestling Grippler,
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man.
But then I'm like, Dev, you got to say you came up with it.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Other one, you want to hear a quick story about Devin's nickname, No Limits? It's so funny because I said that I was telling people I came up with that name, No Limits, Larrett, and Neil Pickup was like, no, mate, I did. I'm like, what is this? You think I'm walking into the Twilight Zone here? Like, I fucking know, and I'll tell you why. But I believe him. It just happened that we both came up with it. Okay. And it's just, he called it years later or earlier, like vaguely at this thing, but I did it because when I was down in Quantico, this Master P CD came out, and it was,
oh wow. Okay.
There was a song called No Limit Soldier.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm a no limit soldier. I thought
Yeah.
I told you, right?
Yeah, I
And
remember.
I'm thinking of Devin. I'm like, that's him. He's a soldier, and he's no limits.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no limits, you know? And I'm like, your name should be no limits and stuff like that. And he's looking at me. And now it's so funny because now I kind of looking at his face back then. I'm like, why is he looking at me like I got two heads? Because he was probably thinking, like, yeah, I know, it is my nickname. You get
Mhm.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I had an argument with the guy that actually came up with his nickname. And then he said, it happens sometimes. He's like,
Parallel
sayings,
thinking.
sayings and jokes. He's like, often because of times and the way things are,
Yeah.
will literally be said in opposite ends of the world
Yeah.
at the same time
Yeah. They call
because
it parallel thinking. Yeah.
parallel thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
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 So
There are
that's
comedians that get accused of stealing somebody's jokes. And like you said, sometimes it's actually just parallel thinking. They just thought of the same joke because of the time they're in, the era they're in, the news,
yeah, yeah,
so on
yeah,
and
yeah.
so forth. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely. That's pretty cool, man. That's definitely cool. Listen, man, I really appreciate and enjoyed this interview, and I appreciate your honesty and the fact that you're so transparent. Makes me respect you even more. I'm going to continue following your journey to back to being on top as an elite arm wrestler. I mean, I think you're going to do it. I don't have any doubt in my mind. But I truly are grateful that I was able to have this opportunity to interview you, man. Because
I got a long way to go, man. Like, and especially now, like these young cats coming in, being this strong, 3-4 years in the sport, it's unheard of. And
always. It's always the young guys, the young lions coming in. Always, man.
you know,
It's no
yeah,
joke.
you know about Schoolboy, right?
Oh, what is he? 14?
No, he's like
He's like
24, I
20.
think, but I think he's 24, but they market him like he's 20 because he looks so young. And then
Yeah.
that other one,
Well,
Chance,
sure, too. Sure. Yeah, Chance, sure.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So the young guns are coming up. My son Liam, one of these days you'll be doing an interview with him, I promise.
I
Because
believe you.
he's about 6'1", 6'2", 400 pounds.
Wow.
Bigger, as big as hands as Devin, as long as Devin,
Yeah.
size 17 shoe. Like
Jesus.
he's a big one, yeah.
So he's your oldest of 4 boys, you said?
Yeah. Well, I have a stepson and
Okay.
3 sons, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right, very cool. And are they
Well,
all interested in?
I have four kids. Yeah.
Are they all interested in arm wrestling?
Liam's the most. I would say Keegan, my youngest, is the second most, and the other two are like dabbling in it. But I think when they get like the 13 and 14-year-old, as they get older, I think it's going to be a lot cooler for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Games, and they're just starting to talk about high school football now. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Listen, dude, thanks a lot, man. And once again, I really appreciate everything. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you and, and show everybody who you are. I say this too, a lot of the times when I like the interview, this is what I end with. The one good thing about having your podcast is you're able to interview people that you admire and not people that you have to interview. Like, so the people that I constantly contact are people that I admire, so it's not like I have to work for CBS and sit here and talk to some fucking asshole politician that I don't really care about.
I appreciate that. That's pretty cool, man.
Of course, man. Of course. I appreciate you saying yes. So I'm going to let you go, dude. And actually, I'm not going to let you go because I got to ask you a question afterwards, but I'm just going to end the recording.
No problem.
But listen, man, it was great. I appreciate everything. And we'll definitely talk soon. And I definitely want to have you back and talk about the wrestling things. I had no idea that you were into that.
Oh, cool.
All right, cool. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.